Aloha everyone. This week's vlog is going to be about addiction. And the reason why I chose this week's vlog to be about addiction is because of the unfortunate passing of Philip Seymour Hoffman and his unfortunate passing. He had contributed greatly to his career and greatly to his field of acting. Um, One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about addiction is he is one of the stories that a lot of people that come into my practice tend to come in and talk about a lot of times. And if you read the stories that has been going around about him, it's a very it's a story that's pretty consistent with people who have addictive behaviors. You know, it's about a story about people who come in and say, I've been clean and sober and in recovery for years, and what happens is that they end up having a traumatic event and, they end up going back to their old behaviors. And unfortunately for Philip Seymour Hoffman, him falling off the wagon, so to speak, uh, did not behoove him, and he was not able to get back onto the recovery train. Unfortunately, what happened is after being clean and sober for 23 years, ended up relapsing and relapsing pretty hard, um, and unfortunately dying from that relapse. Now, a lot of times people come in and it's usually the significant others or the family members, and they ask, why, what is an addict, first of all? Or if they ask that question, it's more like, why the hell they be doing this? And why are they doing this to me? And why are they hurting my family? And why are they hurting us? And they should know better. Why are they doing this? And the question is that the answer is they're not doing it to hurt you. First of all, uh, they I don't think they even know why themselves. I mean, that's the true answer. And so, question. So let's go back to the question and answer the Q&A answer. So question one: what is an addict? The answer is, if you want the simplistic layman term, an addict is someone who has an addictive behavior, so a behavior that they have formed over a course of time that has provided them some kind of positive reinforcement. So, say for example that you have developed this great affinity for, let's pick something crazy. Uh, Peanut butter bash from Dairy Queen. So you go and find that Dairy Queen's peanut butter bash makes you feel happy. It makes you feel good. And it makes you feel all good inside. And it makes you feel like all the problems you have in the world goes away. Poof! Goes away. No longer have that bad feeling anymore. So all the stress, all the anxiety, and all the depression that you have, the first scoop of peanut butter bash that you put in your mouth fades away when you take a bite of the peanut butter bash. Goes away. Poof. That is what usually happens with anybody um, that has a affinity or love for their addictive behavior. The difference is that for someone who has an addictive behavior, if they keep having that happen to them over and over again, that's when that love that they have for that turns into an addiction, because what happens is that reinforcement, it happens over and over again. So if you take the first bite of the peanut butter bash and it happens once, of course you're not going to have addiction to that. That's not going to happen. But what will happen is that if you have it happen to you several times, so say like over a course of several months, you have an affinity and the same positive reinforcement of having peanut butter bash, of eating that several times, you all of a sudden find that you have a love for peanut butter bash. And every time you eat the peanut butter bash, the stress goes away, the anxiety goes away, and the depression goes away. Why wouldn't you eat the peanut butter bash from Dairy Queen? Of course you're going to go down there. You're going to find the nearest Dairy Queen and you're going to get it. Hello? Well, who wouldn't? That is what is going to happen. That is the norm. That is what occurs. And that is how an addictive behavior begins. So that is what occurs. That is how an addiction formulates, anyway, the simplistic terms of that. Now, what makes it to the point that it is no longer, it goes from, it crosses that threshold where it becomes not a good thing. And what it is that when it starts affecting your emotional sense of self, adversely affecting it, so negatively affecting it, so it starts adversely affecting adversely affecting your emotional sense of self. It starts negatively impacting relationships around you, so like your family, your friends, your employment. When it negatively starts impacting your employers, like your job, all of a sudden you're now getting busted at work because instead of you going to work on time, where are you headed? Dairy Queen. You headed to Dairy Queen. Because why? Because I want my peanut butter bash and I gotta get hooked up. So now instead of you going to work on time, you is going to Dairy Queen. And so when it starts affecting different aspects of your life, and all of a sudden you can't pay your bills because you are buying too much peanut butter bash, that is when there is a problem. And that's when it crosses the threshold from being something where it's not necessarily a love for the peanut butter bash, and going into an addictive behavior wherein it's abusive dependence issue. That's what we would call, in our addiction world, a problem. And that's when you probably should start calling a therapist and getting some help at that point. Now, why should you stop? How do you stop? That would be the next step that we need to start talking about. That would be the next vlog that we'll start, having a whole conversation about. And because that's a whole other vlog, of course, and we can probably talk about that in another 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, of course. But the main point I wanted to talk about in this vlog was, what is an addict? What makes an addict? Because everybody wants to know what that means. And when you first think of addiction, everybody immediately go towards drugs, alcohol. That's the first thing they talk about, they think is drugs and alcohol. They never think of all the other addictive behaviors that goes along with that. Why can't you be addicted to food? Why can't you be addicted to sex? Why can't you be addicted to TV and internet, Facebook, Vine, Instagram, and all the other social media sites that we have out in our society today? Of course you can be addicted to those things. The point I'm trying to make is that we as human beings are very addictive people. We're creatures of habit. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. That's part of who we are as individuals. Now, the difference is that at what point, like I was saying before, does we cross that threshold into dependence, abuse behaviors? That's what we need to figure out. That's what we need to look at. So in summary, what I wanted to teach you in this blog is, are you or are you not? Are you or are you not a uh, abusive, dependent, have a dependency behavior in any type of behavior that's going on in your life right now? So ask yourself that. Use the example I use about the peanut butter bash and ask yourself, in my life right now, do I have any behaviors that I'm doing that could cross that threshold? And if the answer is yes, start trying to bring it back into some kind of balance. Yeah, you want to spice up your life. Yeah, you want to not live a boring life. I get it. Most people with addictive personalities and stuff like that, they want to live in a somewhat spicy life and have some kind of, um, you know, have an ability to have some kind of extreme behavior stuff here and there, so they at least feel like they are having some fun activities in our life. That's cool. You know what I mean? Whatever. But remember, we all need balance in our life. That's the main thing. If you're going to be swinging from one end to the continuum to the other, if you're going to swing, swing more in the middle. Don't be swinging from all the way to the left, all the way to the right. Swing in the middle. That's what I'm trying to say. So, in summary, please reflect on what I just said. Ask yourself, do I have any behaviors that I need to look into? If you have really extreme behaviors, remember, your best thinking got you where you at right now. So you cannot do this alone. So if that's the case, take your ego down a couple notches. Know what's going on. Be realistic. Get help and do what you need to do to get better. Because if you take a snapshot of your life right now, and fast forward a year, and if you're not happy with that snapshot in a year from now, then do something about it, because it's not going to change. You need help in order to get that stuff to change. So contact your insurance company, look for the resources, get some free EAP visits if that's the case, an employee assistant program visits. It's free of charge, and go and find some therapy and do what you need to do. Get on MD Junction, read up more about it. Utilize the resources you have out there. There's so much resources, but make some changes so you feel like you're doing something for yourself. Love yourself enough to make the change. The only constant in life is change. So do something for yourself. So until next week, my friends, I will talk to you soon.